Welcome back, everybody, to America on the Road. Jack Nerad with you. And we have an old friend with us. Thomas Broberg has been a safety expert at Volvo for years and years and years. We've known each other for years. We are getting together again at the introduction of the Volvo EX90.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being with us, number one.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's good to be with you. It's been a while.
Yes, it's true. Safety expert. We're talking about an electric vehicle, probably the flagship electric vehicle of Volvo, coming to market very, very soon. And I'm really curious about the ramifications of safety in an electric vehicle. Yeah. We hear a lot of things about EVs. In many ways they operate just like a regular car, quote unquote regular car. In some ways they don't. Let's dive into that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a full electrical vehicle, and we've been doing this for quite some years now, and this is our flagship, as you say. And of course, we want to take safety to the next level. So we've actually wanted to design this to be the safest Volvo ever. And we have, as you know, we have more than 5 decades of knowledge studying real-world accidents. I mean, that's sort of the foundation for everything that we do in order to help protect people inside the car and outside, but also to help drivers avoid collisions in the first place. So that's knowledge base has been put into this car. And of course, then we have the electrical drivetrain and the batteries that we have also included in that design. So using that knowledge, we have made specific designs around the battery. Mm-hmm. As an example, we have had the opportunities to make even further improvements on the deformation zone in the front, for instance, the safety cage itself, and so forth. And on top of that, we have put new sensors, both inside and outside, to further elevate safety in this car.
Yeah. In a conventional vehicle, let's say an XC90, for example, which is very similar to the EX90 in a lot of ways in terms of size, class, I think all that. You're protecting the people, you're protecting the occupants. In an electric vehicle, you also really have to protect the batteries too, don't you?
Yeah,
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, if you take the EX90, we have a design, so we have, you can say that we have a safety cage around the battery as well. And what's included in that design is that it actually helps for the safety cage for the people as well. Mm-hmm. So we use that frame in high strength aluminum to further distribute the forces in different types of collisions, because if you look at the real world, there is a high diversity of crashes out there. Mm-hmm. And that is sort of the knowledge that we built over these 5 decades.
And what you bring uniquely, I think, to this whole process, right?
Yeah, I think we're fairly unique in, for instance, well, definitely in doing it for so long and doing it consistently. So we have a very good track record on how we have achieved good things. How well we have performed over time when we introduce technology, which enables us also to make predictive models of what sort of the improvements that we make. So we understand why we need to do something and what it is, and then we can use this knowledge over time to make predictive models of how well we will perform in the future, or make a prediction of that at least.
Let's talk about this platform, a dedicated platform, I assume. It's designed for this vehicle specifically. How does it differ from a conventional vehicle of about the same size? Well,
if you take for Volvos, I mean, again, coming back to the front, if you take the front, the deformation zone has been further improved. And of course, the drivetrain in this...
So describe for our listeners exactly what you mean by that. Kind of a crush zone.
Yeah, the crush zone. Basically, in all our higher vehicles, like the XC90 previously, we have 3 what we call load paths. So we have a lower one in the front, we have the main one in the middle, and then we have an upper one. And these are there to add robustness, you can say, independent. So since you have a diversity of frontal crashes, it can be anything from a head-on to an angled, an offset. It can be to a lower vehicle, and it can be to another higher vehicle. So you need to add that into the equation. And what we've done with the EX90 is that we have further improved the lower part, where the main loads in the front. When you crash into something, you need to dissipate that load, and you need to absorb the energy that is involved. So we have this lower load path that we have further improved. We actually introduced that with the first XC90 in 2002, and now we have further improved that to take more energy in that, which adds to the performance in compatibility. So for instance, if we impact a lower vehicle or a lower vehicle,
So a sedan as opposed to a tall vehicle like an SUV.
Yeah, then we will engage the load-bearing structure of that car, which then will engage the safety systems of that car. So it's the geometrical compatibility. Because if you look at the traffic environment, it is by nature incompatible.
Yes. You have all kinds of different vehicles on the road.
All kinds of different vehicles, all the way down to unprotected road users like pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and so forth. But for lower vehicles, we have this, and then we have further introduced that. Then we have also improved the uppermost structure in the front, and that is for what we call underride situations. So, for instance, if you impact the rear end of a trailer or a truck, which is higher, then we absorb a lot of energy in there. And thanks to, I would say, a little to that it is an electrical car, we have also managed to optimize these load paths much better, which means that we will have less acceleration or forces on the occupants inside the car in front of crash, which helps also to improve.
Where does the battery pack sit in the
It sits on the floor, and we frame that, as I said, we have a safety cage around the battery, and we also have transverse members from the sides that will distribute the load in side impacts, for instance, for different objects. So we set, based on the knowledge that we have gained over the years, studying real world accidents, we set our own standard, the Volvo standard, in terms of what we want to, the type of situations that we expose the design for. And most of that is done in computers these days. That was actually my first job when I joined Volvo in 1995 as what we call a CAE engineer, computer-aided engineering. And I think if we just look at it, the EX90 has been crashed, I would say, more than 80,000 times.
On a computer.
On a computer before it even exists.
Right.
And then on top of that, we do the physical tests as well, because our customers don't buy virtual cars yet. They have to do that as well.
Yeah, they're real people.
So, yeah, exactly. So we put a lot of emphasis on that design, and that also helps improve. So if you take it for the occupants inside the car, so basically you have a very strong framework in the floor around the batteries and transverse members. So if in a side impact, basically our car will be pushed, and then for the occupants you have the restraints with the inflatable curtain, side airbags, the belts, and so forth.
Does this vehicle have a different wheelbase, or radically different wheelbase than the XC90, or is it about the same?
It's about the same, I would say. I'm not an expert on sort of the chassis settings, but I mean we always want to have a nice design.
Yeah, and I was just wondering how that affects safety. You know, if a longer wheelbase, wheels on the corners more so than wheels in the middle of the vehicle.
One advantage you have, since it's a higher vehicle, is that you have still quite a lower center of gravity, which is good in many situations. For instance, for rollovers and so forth. Yeah,
to prevent rollovers.
Exactly. And the EX90, since it has the battery pack very, very low, that adds to that. That's a lot of
and what kind of mass is that? 900 pounds? 1,000 pounds?
Yes,
something like that?
I don't know the exact figures on that, but somewhere around that, I would say. What it also enables, I think you get a better weight distribution over the car as well for dynamics, and you have a lot of support systems and data systems and vehicle dynamic systems that supports as well, of course.
Yeah. Let's talk about advanced driver assistance systems with this vehicle. What does it offer, number one, in terms of driver assistance?
Well, we have the sharpest sensor set ever, and so it's both sort of improvements already existing functionality, but also new functionality.
Mhm.
And more importantly, it's prepared for adding or improving functionality over time, since we have over-the-air. And the computer,
Over-the-air.
yeah. And we have a sensor set that is prepared. We have a computer that is big enough to actually be able to add things, which is a huge enabler.
Mm-hmm.
We have also, we're also introducing a driver understanding system.
Mm-hmm.
So we have sensors in the car that monitors the gaits and head movements of the driver. We have a capacitive steering wheel. And then we have developed an algorithm based on our studies and research on people and the state of people. So if you're distracted or tired, then we can use that information in order to either turn on functionality like ADAS.
Okay.
Or,
What are some of the things you would turn on based on the fact that you're seeing?
Say for instance, a lane keeping aid can be something
okay.
that you can turn on. You can also change the thresholds. So if you're very alert, maybe you can be annoyed if you get a warning all the time.
A lot of people are annoyed by getting that.
Then
warning,
we see that, okay, this is an alert driver, then we can sort of hold that warning until a later stage when it gets really critical.
How do you balance that out? I mean, that's something that you run the risk of upsetting people, right, by giving them too many warnings. At the same time, you want to keep them safe and give them enough warnings. I mean,
the philosophy for us is that we should not act until we need to act with warnings or interventions. And this is based on sort of, well, at the safety center we have a whole team of non-engineers. They're actually behavioral scientists. So they're trying to understand how we operate up here.
How humans think, It's a tough one to figure out.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But we do a lot of studies both on track and in simulators where we sort of do experiments. We have drivers in different situations to see their reactions, and then we build our algorithms around that. So again, a very unique kind of setup that we have within the safety center to really address this. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we have our own algorithms, and as I said, we can upgrade over time. And we have new functionality on this car as well, like automatic emergency steering. A few years back, we launched a function that is oncoming mitigation by braking, which is in situations where you're driving on the road with two lanes going in different directions, and if a car is sort of coming into your lane, we will apply brakes in order to try to mitigate or reduce the speed for impact. In this car, we will also, we have functionality that will automatically steer. If someone is coming into your lane, it will try to steer within the lane as much as possible to try to avoid or mitigate the collision.
Right.
So that's
from a high level. What is the takeaway consumers should get about the EX90 in terms of safety as it comes to market?
Well, it's there to help protect what is important, the people inside the car. As I said, it's the safest. It's designed to be the safest Volvo ever. It is really all the input for more than 5 decades of studying real-world accidents is put into this. So the integration of how the function. I mean, all cars today have safety belts and airbags and all bangs and whistles. But the important thing is to understand what they need to achieve and when.
And when,
And that knowledge has really been put into, I mean, that's sort of the core of the work that we do at the Safety Center, to understand that, so we understand the needs from real people and real collisions. But fortunately, most people will never experience a crash. And we're working even further to help prevent that. So how we have prevent collisions, I think, is unique with this car as well. With the sharpest sensor set, we have 360 surrounding views with radars, large number of radars, cameras, and even a LiDAR on the car to understand what's outside. And then we have sensors on the inside for understanding the state of the driver, which is also very unique. And on top of that, we have our leave no one behind system. So we have radars in the interior. So if you unintentionally leave someone in the rear
Right.
seat.
Or your dog, for that matter.
Exactly. And you try to lock the car, you will not be able to lock it, and you will have a message in the central display.
Yeah.
So that, again, to address a topic that is important, that you should feel safe sort of using the car as well, not only driving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, a very impressive array of safety in the new EX90 from Volvo. Thomas Broberg, thanks so much for being with us. It's such a pleasure to see you, it really is. I feel great seeing you after so many years, so thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you, and drive safely.
Okay, I'll do my best. And stay with us, everybody. We'll be right back right here on America on the Road.